So we're going to have a very open and free conversation. I'm going to start off with Julius in the middle. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, especially around the digital finance space, and then we will move in different approach to everybody else. And I will also tell you what I'm doing as well. So
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to stand on the protocol that has been observed throughout the day. My name is Julius Kakeeto. I'm the CEO for PostBank, which is now becoming Pearl Bank. It's rebranding and moving on to the next level as Pearl Bank. Previously, I was part of this community a few kilometers away to the east. I used to work in Canada, work with Citibank. So I'm quite familiar with the relationship between UK and Uganda in terms of business. And I will talk a little bit more later on about Pearl Bank and what we are doing in the digital space and how we are supporting the tenfold growth program, how we have positioned ourselves. You gave me 2 minutes. I think those are up 2 minutes.
I will give them back to you later. In politics, they say you yield, or I don't know. Say, Abdul, please.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here. I'm called Abdul Kasoma. I'm CEO of BPO company called Exclusive Solution. We sit in Namangwe. We are into the digital space via the services we offer that relate to call center and call center enabled services, IT-enabled services delivered via our call and contact center in Namangwe. Happy to be here.
I'm Irene Mutiara Kabiri, the Corporate Banking Director for ABSA Uganda. It's an honor to represent ABSA Uganda on behalf of the ABSA Group that is based out of South Africa, but we have representative offices here in Canary Wharf. Thank you.
I prefer to stand if I'm going to introduce myself.
Please do.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Graham Bright. I'm a JP. I'm a judge in London, and I'm very pleased to say I've never seen any of you in my court. So, as a starting point, my role is head of compliance and operations. Compliance, I like to say no to everything. And I think that's one of the problems that we have for Africa generally. When everybody has a perception of Africa, you say you want to do this trade, they say no. And what we're trying to do is break down those barriers and make it very easy, frictionless, to ensure the trade can take place with trust, making sure that we can get dollars in the right place, that foreign exchange can work for you, and work with appropriate collateral. And that's one of the key points of how we can move forward. We're talking about digital technology, particularly in this particular panel. And it's really good to understand what is digitizing documents and digitalizing your process, making sure that you can be as formative as possible when you're dealing with other types of transactions around the world. Everybody else is doing it, and it's costing a lot to do it. It's not free. So there's investment needed in the technology to make this happen. We talk about blockchain and people go about AI and stuff like that. Yes, they are enabling technologies. They are not the end of the journey. They are just part of that enablement of technology. So that's me. Welcome to this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. The second year we've been involved in this particular process, and thank you for allowing me to be on the panel.
Thank you so much for that, especially when you talk about the compliance and no. There is also the conversation on technology and no within the banks. So I will please take it up from there and let's see how, especially around compliance, no, technology, no, and the new tech. The governor was here too, but...
All right, thank you very much. I think I'll speak technology closer to home, and that is the East African bloc. What has remained very topical in the East African space is mobile banking, and of course, a lot of transactions that are happening across different wallets. I think if we speak about the digital world, for in East Africa and even in Uganda, the emphasis really has been on the mobile banking space. And as financial institutions, I think that is really what we leverage on to make sure that we are tapping into the unbanked segment of the communities. Because when you talk about mobile banking, at least there is, access to funds, and a large part of what we have done as financial institutions is try to get in to the last mile of the person down in the rural areas, which really encompasses a number of our clients that are not able then to access our services. So I think apart from that, when you come to AI, what we are doing as financial institutions is to make sure that we leverage on that in order to improve our credit scoring. So where we had documentation passing through the system, like for 2-3 months, people scrutinizing it, we are shifting to AI scored kind of assessments, credit assessments for our clients in order to make sure that it's seamless, number one, but it also is able to read the profiles and maintain the data for easy access to financial services. I think lastly is, of course, it is a digital world, and you would have seen we have a stand out there. We have been opening up accounts using our digital platforms, and it's real time, and then that is what the digital world does for us. It opens us up away from brick and mortar into the real world of making financial services accessible to people and very, very convenient. So I think that is how really we leverage on technology to make sure that we are delivering services to people in a seamless and in a convenient way, but most importantly for our markets is to reach that last mile of somebody or that is down there in the rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Julius, if you can pick that conversation up and tell us a little bit of summary story of your product that I know are there.
Thank you very much. Today, technology is to be an enabler for doing business. Today, technology is a business. It's no longer just an enabler. I'll pick on the Deputy Governor's comments earlier in the day. You can expand an economy without transforming the society. So you have to do both, and this is where banking comes into play. Today we have a challenge in Uganda, which is also a very big opportunity. The private sector credit to the GDP, the size of the economy, is quite low. It's around 14%. If you look at the economies where we want to go, in the tenfold, the sizes of the Vietnam, South Africa, Egypt, if you're looking at Africa, Malaysia, that are in the $300, $400 billion size economies, or $500 billion. The private sector credit to GDP in some of these places is more than 100%. So the banking sector has a very, very big role to play in terms of extending credit. But as it extends credit, again, people have to be financially included. And if people are not financially included, it becomes a lot harder to transform them. And this is where now technology comes into play. You can't use the old methods of enabling financial access. It's very expensive. You have to embrace technology. What we did in this journey as formerly PostBank, we thought, how can we automate financial inclusion so that every Ugandan can have access to an account? Let them be the ones to decline, but at least if they want an account, they can have access to it. And we had to do it in our own way because there was no footprint to copy or learn from. We thought we can do it exactly the Ugandan way. And that's how we went into the innovation of WND. WND is a different license still under the central bank. You have a banking license, and you also get a payments license. It's a second license to enable you issue electronic money. So once you can issue electronic money, what that means is that anyone with a phone, whether it's a feature phone or a smartphone, can have access to financial services. They can receive payments, they can make payments, they can borrow, they can deposit, save, and transact. And that is really how WND came into play. We took it a notch further because we are part of a wider economy. We are not isolated as Uganda. We integrated WND with our Western Union. And we are trying to make a lot of these integrations with whoever moves money into the country. And what that means is that I can sit here on my phone and in 20 seconds, I can send money to Kotibu, or the most remote part of the country in Uganda. And for me, that is really taking financial services to the people. And because in our countries, you have a lot of groups, people work in groups, they serve in groups, communities, because then they trust each other and they know each other. So you have to enable group activity on this platform as well, which we also enabled. And it has been a champion for PDM, Parish Development Model, which is a very, very key tool for government to bring people into the money economy. To make sure every Ugandan participates in the money economy. That is step one in terms of transforming society. And in addition to that, I really touched on this, we have moved away from using human beings to determine how credit can be disbursed because of technology. What you do, you pre-score people based on their behavior. Today we sit and some loans we can do within 13 minutes because we already know you. We know your behavior, we know what you do, how you bank, what you spend on, and we don't need to ask you so many questions because 80% of the answers you already have through data. We've developed a lot of data capabilities just to support this journey of financial inclusion. Now, the other leg, before I leave the mic, the other leg is around stimulating entrepreneurship. Because, again, if you are doing economic expansion, you want a lot of the businesses. Because Uganda, SMEs are the largest employers, it's not so much different from Kenya and Tanzania within the East African region. SME employs between 75 and 80% of the working population. That is a very big opportunity for anyone who wants to invest in Uganda. Because once you choose whatever you want to do and you get it right, around SMEs, they are the largest innovators, they are the largest suppliers to the large corporates and so on, then you get a very good reward in terms of your business. You can make impact, you can create impact. So the other leg is around stimulating entrepreneurship around the SME space and supporting them to become strong and take advantage of the opportunities that come with the tenfold growth.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to move it now to Abdul. You are a facilitator for the BPO, and talk about what impact, what difference you've seen in your operations since the market got digitized. I know you've been in the market for the early days. What has happened differently? You're a huge employer. What impact have you seen from the advancements of Irene and Julius?
Thank you very much. A key takeaway from what Julius mentioned was technology is no longer just an enabler, but the job itself. And this is what we traded in technology. But technology is only practical when or if it's being applied by the right, the people with the right skilling. When we talk of digitalization and how it's enhancing the BPO sector, we are basically looking at three pillars: the technology, infrastructure technology, skilling, and having the right regulatory framework. With infrastructure, all previous, facilitators have been talking about how we have made mileage in infrastructure development, but the one that relates more to technology is the interventions. I think there's been a World Bank funding for pushing broadband to the most least privileged areas in the country. So the broadband, coupled with affordable devices that because most of Ugandans are going to use technology mostly nightly on the phone rather than on the computer, the stage at which we are, and then having the right regulatory framework. Recently, the government passed the BPO policy, the BPO policy that is, guiding how BPO is going to be delivered in the country. And the right projects have been undertaken that are focusing on skilling Ugandans. So many of our young, educated, boys and girls have benefited from different interventions. Currently, there is a project by Enable, delivered by Private Sector Foundation. There's been NTF4, that's Netherlands Trust Fund, and 5. And Netherlands Trust Fund number 5 is actually being funded by the British government, the project part of which we are. All that is, adopting projects that are helping with skilling Uganda. And then the regulatory framework, we have
okay. Thank you. I'll come back to you later because now we've set the scene, and now I want to pose the question both to the panel and later on to the floor. Is finance and scaling also about security in terms of, we talked about compliance? The market for insurance in Uganda, how do you see it? Because when I'm looking at the numbers, they're telling me that less than 1% of our GDP is insured. And what are the banks not doing? And who can we marry with ourselves to make sure that we move that penetration higher up? Because last time I looked at the statistics, they're telling me that 1.7 trillion was last year, 1.57 trillion was what the market did, and if they're doing that under 1% of GDP, how much money are we leaving on the table, but also how are we able to protect the investments that you're banking? I want to throw that first to ABSA, then I'll come back to Dr. later, so I just want to throw that ABSA. Insurance, what can we do? Where do we need investors to come in and support, or do we not need investors? I don't know if you can take that first.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that question. So, I guess in the banking sector, it's because everything we do has to be collateralized and securitized in order, one, to protect shareholders' money, to protect investors' money. There is a limitation on what kind of collateral, on what kind of security that anybody can take. I mean, there is a level in which when someone cannot give you land and building anymore and they cannot do any other thing. So I think of recent, what we have tried to do is to blend the securitization of most of the facilities that we give out with insurance. And we have partnered with a number of insurance companies in the market and of course in the UK, tapped into the insurance market here to say, if we have a good project, an infrastructure project that we'd like to finance, it cannot be looked at as the normal structures that call for security. We must tap into the insurance market. So we've done quite a number of structures tapping into the insurance market, at least for corporates. I think it is a new concept that we are trying to build on from a market perspective. Of course, we will do it for the A-rated and of government most of the time. But the general corporates, we still have some way to go regarding the insurance-backed kind of
Thank you, Julius. Maybe just touch that a little bit. I still want to come back to you because I feel with Julius, do you want to touch a little? I'm really looking at where we are because if we scale our finance, we need to make sure that it's secure. Is there anything different that you think we're able to do, or how do we attract members from this audience to come and play in that space? And I'm going to come to the audiences also on that issue.
Thank you very much. I think there is a very big opportunity around the insurance space. If you look at life, that's individual, health, and so on, only about penetration is at 1% across the general public. And one of the challenges that our insurance sector faced some years ago was around trust. And with the bank assurance laws that came into place, allowing banks to sell insurance as well, I think it has helped a lot because now there is some bit of trust. the same bank clients, actually, as they consume more services, they can accept to take on insurance. I think as financial inclusion expands, insurance will automatically also multiply itself. And when it comes to big projects,
I want to touch on to the value of identification. How much has that influenced since we got the national ID and the name? Has that influenced, has that made an impact?
yes,
And does that give comfort to somebody coming into investing?
big time impact, whether for insurance, whether for banking. Because today, before we used to have all sorts of IDs to identify a person. Today, I mean, even on an app now, I can show you. You can open your account wherever you are, as long as you have a national ID. We are integrated with NIRA. Same to Wendy, it's integrated with NIRA. And you spend about 10 seconds while your ID is being verified at NIRA. While you're waiting,
help break out NIRA because my colleagues here might not understand.
National Identification Registration Authority is actually we have APIs, we are integrated. So it's very easy. As you're opening an account, simultaneously we're checking the other side. It's technology checking, not us manually. And that has helped a lot in terms of driving usage and onboarding a lot more people into financial services.
Thank you. Doctor, I'll just touch a little bit around, we talked about the compliance side and then...
I think this is a very different problem between what is an individual being onboarded and what is a company being onboarded. Because as soon as you mention company, it's very likely difficult to get a bank account. You need to provide inside leg measurements. You need to provide all sorts of other documentation, often from a registry which does not hold that information. Then you need to get notarized documents, certified documents, and the whole process can take a long time. And we're currently working with a number of database providers, common providers, to get hold of that financial information. It's not just the KYC on the customer which is important. You do transaction KYC as well. So if we're doing a particular trade in trade finance, we need to know who the ultimate customer is, but details specifically about the trade, where it's going, does it meet the requirements, dual-use goods, sanctioned countries, sanctioned individuals. So we need to know all that information before you can even onboard that client.
I want to dig deeper into that statement in terms of, because this is really about business.
Yeah.
What are the opportunities for that gap to be filled, and which partners can we look into? And I know you're the best person to answer that question, and I'll come to the floor if anybody has a solution.
This is where I say yes, and we are the company which probably say yes, when we say no all the time. But the important thing is, companies that want to do business need to have that information ready to supply to you. Because when you look at a KYC solution, or you're looking at AI, or you're looking at other sorts of databases for compliance, it will say, what's your ID? And you go, that's fine. Is it verified as an ID? Is it a true ID? Because a lot of fraud, and there's 60% currently in trade finance, of documents which are fraudulent, or transactions which are fraudulent. And just coming back to insurance for just a moment, the point is that the insurance has got to be there to guarantee that your buyer is going to pay, as one insurance leg of it, and that your supplier is going to provide the right goods, which are not faulty and are they're not counterfeit. So there's a number of aspects to the whole thing insurance, not just insurance wrapping a trade. There are a number of aspects to it. The customer you're providing the insurance for, potentially you can wrap that, but also the two elements of the transaction which need to be put in place. Not all insurance companies are willing to do that.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a few minutes. Anybody on the floor wants to contribute to this conversation before we come back to the panel? Because I just need these 2 hands. Okay, thank you. Please make your comments short to the point because we're continuing this conversation. So.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Clementina Aino. I developed a mobile money app about 3 years ago as part of Equals EU Bridging the Gender Gap. And it's taken quite a while to take off in one developing country that I focus on. And there's quite a lot of challenges, obviously. So Given the gender gap, given the fact that there's AI as well, which means that a significant proportion of women, millions, are going to be unbanked, I'd like to know how we can overcome these barriers, because one of these barriers is the mobile phone ownership as well as data costs. And there's quite a lot of...
Thank you. I want to speak to that. Go to the next question.
There's quite a lot of research that sort of says these are key barriers. So regardless of how much money we spend on research, if they haven't got those two, that's a problem. So I'd like to speak to panel members to sort of try and find out how we can scale this in another country, because it did win, was finalist at Financial Alliance for Women last year. So,
thank you. Thank you. We'll connect that later. I see 2 hands at the back. Go from the... Okay. Yes. My friend on connection.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Harry. I represent the Natural Disaster Fund, which is an impact fund capitalised by the governments of the United Kingdom and Germany, with a focus on providing and building resilience to natural disasters, global warming, extreme weather events to countries in the global south. It's been very encouraging to hear the comments from the panellists, especially from the World Banking, about trying to support and drive financial inclusion efforts. I'm very interested to hear ways in which us as members from the insurance sector, particularly in the UK joint governments, how the funds that we have that we can deploy to help communities that are often overlooked and underserved, how we can engage, perhaps not necessarily at either a micro or macro level, but maybe that middle grounding and meso level, how we can work together with counterparts to assist them in supporting their borrowing activities and to support those communities that can be impacted by natural disasters.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know we had a conversation earlier and governors been paying attention. We paid a visit yesterday at Lloyd's, so there's a conversation that we can have there. Harry, please, sir.
Thank you so much. The MD, Pearl Bank, alluded to technology as right now not being an enabler but the job itself. But I want to introduce this house into the adverse effects of technology. We no longer have receptionists in companies. They have been taken over by machines. We no longer have call centers in telecom industries. Machines have taken the jobs. So the rate at which unemployment is coming up should be of worry or should be of concern to all of us sitting here. Yes, technology is there, but governments are going to have issues at the rate at which technology is taking over jobs from humans. So where efficiency outcompetes human welfare, I think all of us should have
Noted. Thank you. We have a few responses to that. I saw faces. One more comment, then we can move back to the panel.
Hello, my name is Perez Cheng, and my question is around trade finance. We are a growing company, and at the present, we are in a situation where we are looking to secure trade finance. And my question to you is the sheer cost of trade finance. So, for example, if you had a supplier 200 and your buyer is 250, you have a profit of 50. If you calculate the total cost of the trade finance and the invoice finance, comes to almost 90% of your profit. So how can small businesses survive or grow with this kind of facility? Are there any ways of reducing all the financing facilities and insurances? Question number 2. Finding credit finance or trade finance for suppliers in Africa is a problem. How do we secure trade facilities or trade between UK and Africa? Because most of the insurance companies or finance companies say that African businesses do not have credibility that can be checked online platform, and they're just not touching them. Those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
The answer to the second one, I know it's a conversation we had yesterday with the governor at Lloyd's, so there's work being done there.
Yes, my question goes to the MD of Pearl Bank. You talk about welding. How scalable is it? How many people have used it so far, and what are the volumes like?
Thank you. Let's, okay, make it short, then we can come. I like that we're having an interaction.
Thank you. My one is still goes to Mr. Kakeeto, the CEO of PostBank. I've had issues with your bank in particular. Some of us who are diaspora, we release money, and when I send my grandma money through Western Union, there are always long queues, or else the network is not on. She's told to come back the next day, and I want to be specific, the branch in Mbari is doing badly. So you better address that. Thank you.
Noted, and I'm sure Julius will respond and act on landing in Kampala. You've commented in front of his boss as well, which is not very good. So he has no choice but to respond.
Thank you very much. The Deputy Governor is here, so I don't want to be marked the wrong way. But on a more serious note, we'll look into that issue. But if I look at a bank like Pearl Bank, personally, when I joined, and we're talking about technology, 80% of the transactions used to happen over the counter. That's why you used to witness the long queues. Today, transaction volumes have multiplied by 5 times. But the transactions that are at the counter are 9%. 91% is digital. So for us, even the conversation about a branch is very questionable, because with digitalization and digitization, the conversation is changing. So you're bringing more people on board without necessarily having that thing called a branch. You don't have to come to a branch. But again, the same conversation, there's a question around the WND. How scalable? In about 2 years, 1.4 million customers are already on WND. It has more customers than the original bank of PostBank that had up to 1 million customers. So you can see the speed at which this grows, the digital bank. And we are currently on a mission to have a branch, an agent at every parish. So that's over 10,000 parishes in Uganda. Meaning once you have WND, you can cash in or cash out at the parish level. So it's a national bank. It's everywhere. We want to make it very well.
I'm going to invoice you for advertising.
Yeah, but let me respond to the question around mobile money.
Governor wants Mbale.
I need to get into the specifics of Mbale branch. Yeah, but the issue of mobile money being expensive, one of the delegates raised that issue. If you look at the statistics in Uganda today, out of a population of 46 million, 33 million phone accounts do exist, mobile phone accounts. 33 million, which is 3 times the number of bank accounts that exist. And I'm saying this because I double hat also, I chair Uganda Bankers Association, so we track some of these things. So it is 3 times. Where do you start if you want to bring everyone on board? You have to go to what the public has already endorsed and adopted, which is the mobile phone. Chances are you'll be able to reach everyone instead of going for the traditional brick and mortar of the account.
Thank you. I want to touch a little bit. Then
okay, maybe I'll just quickly respond to the insurance question. We have at ABSA we have partnered with a number of insurance companies that are interested in specific groups, especially women, vulnerable children, the refugees. What we normally do, we partner with them. They will, whatever funds that are available, we do onward lending to such kind of groups in order to bring them into the financial services. So yes, the partnerships are there. We have, most of the insurance companies, South Africa insurance companies. We have also now tapped into this market, the UK market. And then we also partner with microfinance companies. So what we do as a bank, we connect these 2 or 3 entities to be able to provide funds that can onward lend to the last mile of whichever group that we are targeting. I think the recent one we've just done is one that targets women down in the rural areas. And with that, I'm also glad to know that they are now also taking insurance, which were the real life insurance, as part of a package to these vulnerable groups and the last mile. So I think we can have a conversation, but the market is, at least the banking sector does have those services where we can, service the vulnerable groups.
I want you to just touch on trade finance. There's a question on trade finance and the cost in terms of insuring those trades. And maybe Graham can help us touch it.
My answer won't be so much about ensuring that trade. You need to find a good trade partner who's going to provide you that information, that instrument, in a particular way. And it's collateralizing and what's required for that, and the risk elements that go with it. I'm happy to talk with you afterwards to talk about our risk model, because again, we're talking about appropriate collateral for different markets. And that's not just saying, no, you can't do a trade, we'll make it 5 times the cost. It's actually doing it with a much more innovative way of providing the instrument to you at a reasonable price to do business. So happy to take that offline. The other thing really interesting is your comment about everybody says no, immediately you mention Africa, whatever. One thing I'm a great advocate of, and I hope you are as well, is that the rating systems which are currently used for banks and financial organisations are creating a real problem, not just for Uganda, but for every country in Africa. There is no African bank in the top 100 banks in the world. The first bank that appears is number 154, which is Standard Bank. 150. 154 is ABSA. After that is way down. There are 850 banks in Africa. There are 42 central banks, 46 currencies. There are 2,000 languages spoken. So it's not surprising that there are issues with anybody wanting to invest is saying, where do I go? How do I do this? I was in Rwanda recently and we talked with the government there about a new Project 54, connecting the 54 countries of Africa's central banks. So we get standardization, reusability, harmonization of the way things work, movement of payments that much easier. And again, we've discussed that. I was in Namibia at the Commonwealth Heads of State meeting, and following that at the Zambia meeting. And the same question comes up. Ratings. We're not rated by Moody, not rated by Fitch. What we need is a way to have a rating which truly reflects each country's aspect of its major banks in its own jurisdiction and economy, so that you can be viewed in a different way that not only makes sense to the whole of the continent, but to every other bank worldwide as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that. In terms of there is a comment here from another. Thank you.
Mine is not about trade financing, but something the lady from Absa said. I've been intrigued for some time about the low level of trade, intra-regional trade within the community. It's about 3%. It's stagnated at that level for a long time, but it's very, very high. Europe, etc. So she mentioned gold and platinum. So it occurred to me that the Africans are not buying the gold, they're not buying the platinum. So these products are for Europe or for the UK. That's why we sell more. So the things we are producing for ourselves are not selling much.
In the region.
In the region. That's why it's 16%. Okay. So I think we need to find a solution for that.
Okay.
I think we're over-targeting the other market and forgetting the regional market. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that comment.
Very quickly, can I just respond on that? First of all, you're aware that the UK, in terms of total exports to Africa, is 3%. The other way around, Africa to the UK, total is 3%. It hasn't really risen that much. It's
balanced at a very low level.
It's balanced at a low level. So a 10% increase is going to be having a significant effect. So we need to find a way, the right products, the right services, and to rebuild confidence and trust with those organisations. That's something we hope to do with our footprint that we have in Africa as well. There's over 10,000 agents and partners in the 54 countries of Africa. So that's really important to understand how the business model can work for smaller SMEs who we've heard are driving those economies, driving employment, driving financial inclusion and really helping to build economies and growth.
Great. You touched on rating, and I think I know Central Bank have approved us rating about 2 rating companies in Uganda. So we have credit rating companies that have been approved. One of them is cross-border. Conflict of interest, so I'll tell you which one it is. But yes, so we do have the process is starting, and I've seen a number of institutions being rated. But it's the opportunity that I'm looking for the opportunity, because if you remember what Julius talked about, your digital banking ecosystem has doubled and all beaten with solid banking. Yet the lending opportunities for the digital are not as good as the ones with the solid accounts, which is what you touched on. And at that point, we're looking at technology to actually meet those opportunities. And I think the main reason for this forum here is UK. We have an opportunity here, 48 million people and nearly 1 billion Africans. Credit, we'll talk about the credit levels, where we are in terms of credit, and it's the tools that we're actually looking for and the data that you already have. Abdul, and I hand over to you in terms of the opportunity, in terms of contact.
There is a contributor behind there that
something about employment.
Seemed to imply that call centers are now becoming obsolete. I'll tell you, you cannot wish away the human touch. Graham talks about someone having an ID, but that ID, is it verifiable? Many times there is an intersection between technology and the human part, the human body, when you are doing the verifications. When you talk about Julius and the queues that you have to encounter while at his bank, accurate or not, when these bankers say get out of the line and go online, in a way, by going online, there is always going to be a layer of support that is going to come from the human being in the back end. And that's where call centers come in. And where is the opportunity while we talk about the partnerships with the UK companies? I've attended quite a few, contact center expos, and every single operator in the call center space is talking one thing: AI, the threat that AI is. But it's been neutralized to say AI only complements what the human body does in that call center. So rather than reinvent the wheel, we want the partnerships with the companies in Europe, companies in the UK, who already are off the ground on the side of AI. I'll tell you, Uganda has been talked about in so many perspectives, but we have very intelligent, well-educated young boys and girls from universities. They are very trainable and very well, cultured. They have a very good work culture. I remember there was a lot of talk about us and our neighbors, how they leverage on this and that. But you're not going to find, in the region, you're not going to find people that have a work culture that Ugandans have. We currently, just to expound that as I go off the mic, we are supporting companies in the US. One company is into insurance, but when an insurance, when they are doing claims, there is that first layer of verification that even the US, advanced as they are with their technology, is not going to be able to undertake. So it's our young girls and boys in Uganda that are doing the verification of if this person is actually entitled to a claim, and if so, then you can escalate to another level of intervention. We manage some company in the hospitality, not hospitality, but in the medical services sector, where if someone has gotten involved in an accident, this is in California, the first point of contact, the people we call are in Uganda. And we arrange an ambulance service to pick up that person from wherever. We arrange appointments for that patient who is an insured patient. We arrange an appointment for them to see a practitioner that is closest to them. And these are, at the lower end of the involvement of the call and contact center. Once we tag along with the well-developed companies in the UK, I know the potential down there is great. Currently, we run a call center, an 800-seater call center, which we are pushing up to about 2,000 by end of year. But and we are not alone. Even the moderator here, they run a call center. The opportunity for partnerships and therefore getting us to the other level of progress is high up there. But yes, the Mr. Contributor call center is here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can't leave without asking somebody to make a comment, and I want to ask the governor will make one, then the other governor will.
I have a small comment. I don't know. I couldn't let you excuse me if what I'm going to address has already been addressed. Now, my sister is here. She's our
She's the head of state
in charge of East African affairs. Now, I'm very glad that Honorable Rebecca Kataga is here. In her presentation you had, when she was presenting here, that one of the problems that we have is, let me put it this way. I told you in the morning, let me begin like this. I told you in the morning that our economies, for example, the Ugandan economy is 100% liberalized. Our financial and capital accounts are 150% liberalized. Now, when it comes to trade, it is not the case. The key instruments of global economic governance are not liberalized the way our capital and financial accounts are liberalized. In the English language, let's say, talk in the English language. In the English language, is that when I'm doing business, especially with UK, with US markets, European Union markets, the way you are doing business, for example, EU and Uganda, is not that you can say what you want. She told you. You need rules of origin, you need guarantees, you need all these key instruments of this economic. And so, for me, in terms of digitalizing this process, I don't know what we can do to ensure that the way we ourselves have liberalized these markets, you can bring your money, nobody's going to stop you. The assumption was that also we can trade, nobody's going to stop you. But people stop you. People stop you. Don't think that what you want to save, you can actually save it. You got Sainsbury, just got Sainsbury, Tesco, all these powerful supermarkets here. You cannot sell there anything that you actually want. And what is there in that supermarket is not that what we, for example, want to sell there in Uganda is of lesser quality than what you are having there. I can give example, for example, bananas. But because the rules of origin, as you were saying, guarantees and so on. So how do we harmonize this process? It's also very, very important. Then lastly, on the issue of, that was on trade, on the issue of banking, Julius, and they're telling you of buying branch and so on and so forth. For us, we are very to you now.
Headmaster. In front of the headmaster.
This Julius is in charge of Pearl Bank, has been PostBank, it's a government bank. We have got 22 commercial banks, and 3 of them are government, and is managing one of them, the government banks. Others are private. 19 of them are private banks. Now, the problem also, which we have solved for you and the officer, is that supervision, bank supervision, and I want you to come and do business with us. This is very serious business. We have now developed parameters for SupTech. We want supervision to be digital. We have digitalized supervision. We want real-time data. These people, the way they give us data on supervision is that if I'm going to ABSA and Power Bank, they are up to them. It is up to them I'm a supervisor of that commercial bank. Can you imagine? It's up to them to give me the information.
Good afternoon. So my name is Elizabeth Ntege. I am the Group CEO of NFT Consult, which is a human resource management firm that focuses on breaking barriers to employment on Africa, and we are now in 12 African countries. Now, my claim to fame, I used to work and live in Uganda, in England. My claim to fame is I developed what you now use as BT broadband, So I am an engineer by trade, and so I was really instrumental in doing that. Then left and went to Uganda and was looking after the network planning of Uganda Telecom, then started NFT Consult. What I wanted to comment about was that I also now work very clearly in the ICT sector. I head the ICT Association of Uganda, and the VP of the ICT Association on the African continent, of all the ICT associations, and also the COMESA as a business bloc. But what I wanted to comment is that ICT is the new sector on the block. Not only are we just enabling all the sectors around here, because if we're going to scale, we really have to scale through the ICT technology that we have. And here are some of the in our recently concluded conference, we had something around 25 by 2050, 25% of the global population is going to be on the African continent. There will be about $16.12 trillion in consumer and business spending, and 830 million youth ready to shape our future. So we are a young continent, and our people and our young people have the same dreams that you have here. That is why when we comment about losing jobs as receptionists, as call center agents, that is not what our people want. They want jobs that are scaling up. So we have been very lucky in one of the programs that we were working with at NFT. We did a pilot with a financial funder who funded creating jobs on the continent. What we need are jobs creation. This cost them and cost us just under $1 million. And right now, we're in the process of creating another 1,300 jobs on the continent for our young people at a cost of $5.8 million. So there is opportunity for people to come alongside us to create jobs for our young people, but mostly in the ICT sector, because they can then work remotely and support you here on the European continent. So that's what I wanted to. It's not all about agriculture, tourism and everything. The ICT sector is ripe and ready to contribute to our economy in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm told we went over time, but we're going to close, so I do not police myself well. Graham, final comments, and then everybody give a final comment, and then we will conclude.
When I come back next year, I want more than 3%. And it's up to all of us to work towards it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So a lot more could be said. What we offer in terms of Absa Bank, we are outside at the booth. So please, if any question has not been answered, happy to take it. But really, we are calling upon you to invest in the continent, to invest in Uganda. I think the people that have invested there have, reaped big and have not regretted it. At ABSA, we say that we are here to empower Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time.
Thank you. Julius?
Just like the previous speakers, this is a call for you. Come and invest back at home in Uganda, in East Africa. I think the opportunities are immense. We can't exploit each and every opportunity here. We are also available for further conversations and discussions. And technology is not the enabler, it is the actual business. So please, that is a sector that is still very fresh, very open, and for the taking.
Thank you so much for the time. The Honorable Minister of Energy said she's the most sought after individual because of the sector she's overlooking. I tell you, BPO is the new energy once we all open our eyes to it. The opportunities are immense. The preferred destination has lost its shine, which used to be India. Africa is the new destination, and Uganda is, like the moderator mentioned, of the quotation from our minister, BPO, and Uganda is ready to.
Thank you. And the Honorable Minister responded to you that BPO needs electricity. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll continue. Thank you so much. Oh, picture. I have to join.
But more important is the logistics between